Restaurant workers of Reddit, what is the worst thing you have seen done to a customer's order? The worst thing I did was to this one guy that I already didn't like, and he was being kind of an asshole. I overcooked his eggs. I know a guy that ate in a bucket of pickles. He would have never been caught if he didn't talk about it. Edit. There were other things going on at that McDonald's that helped ruin the reputation. It was also competing with another well-managed restaurant in a town that never really had room for both of them. The guy I'm talking about was just one of the most immature teenagers I've known. The funny thing is that he's married to my sister now and has a much better job than me. He slowly transformed into a responsible adult after having a child. I worked at a popular fast food chain in my younger years. It was my first time with closing shift and we were all doing our part to clean and prep the store. I see this lady with a mop and bucket come out of the back, slop it onto the griddle and start mopping it. I was appalled. I went and told the manager and she tells me, well, that's the quickest way to clean it, then scolded me for worrying about things that didn't concern me. I quit that job next day and then called the district office and told them what happened. That location closed down not long after, but the franchise still exists. I had a buddy at McDonald's, a real chaotic type, who every once in a while would say, oh hey, guess what time it is? Pickle surprise. And put a whole handful of pickles on a random cheeseburger. I saw a waiter pour an orange juice, take a big swig with his lips on the rim, top it up, then take it to the table. In college, I worked for a well-known pizza place. One of our wait staff came to collect a pepperoni pizza and nabbed a piece of pepperoni off the top before taking it out. He gets to the table and everyone is staring at him in stunned silence. There's a very fine string of cheese going from the pizza to his mouth. Pour the whole tray of drinks over a guest, twice. International trade fair with students as waiters. First time was an accident. Second time she was so nervous she was practically shaking and spilled the drinks again on the same guy. Worked at a 50s style diner. Was prepping the chicken breasts for our burgers and dropped a tray of 50 and they slid right under the grill. Easily the dirtiest place in the whole restaurant. Semicolon. My boss saw and had me pick them all up, rinse them with water and resistant then and stick them back in the fridge. I gave them what they ordered. We were a pizza Italian bar restaurant. Our menu was ludicrously large and essentially anything that was on the menu that could go on a pizza was listed as a topping. Probably 40 to 50 topping choices. I would get asked pretty often for a pizza with everything on it. I had a usual joke or two to find out what they really wanted. Typically a deluxe, but then they'd want no black olives or whatever. No big deal. Until the arsehole came in that ordered everything and then proceeded to ask if I was ret when I questioned him. My sister has disabilities, so I didn't appreciate his tact. Told my boss about it and he smiled and said get him a pizza with everything. Brought it out and gave it to him. He flipped out and demanded the manager, of course. My manager had my back and gave the guy his bill, which at $2 a topping was well over a $100 pizza. Guy refused to pay. Cops got called. Yada yada yada. I hope he enjoyed his pizza with clams, pineapple, buffalo chicken, broccoli, anchovies, green olives, cream cheese, cauliflower, jalapenos, shrimp. Tampering with food is not that common. I've been in the business a long time and only worked with one girl who spat in someone's food. Another server saw her and she got reported and fired immediately. The only other thing that sometimes happens is when people get cocky and ask for extremely spicy food, the kitchen staff turns into evil geniuses. A guy once asked me for wings so spicy that they would give a woman a miscarriage. I relayed those lovely instructions to the kitchen and I don't know what they did, but the sauce was burning my nose and making my eyes water as I carried it out. He was not able to finish his wings. At my last restaurant job, my co-worker would make very ugly sundaes for customers who were rude. For particularly nice customers, she would painstakingly recreate the sundaes in the menu pictures and give them extra cream and sprinkles. One time we had a woman call back because her rotisserie chicken was burned. I explained it's just charred because of the way it's cooked. She wasn't having it, so we agreed to get her a new one. 10 minutes after her husband left, she called back even more red, saying this one was worse. We told her to send her husband back again for a new one. The manager and I went in back, with gloves on, and SCR-ped off all the burnt parts. Not another 10 minutes after he leaves, she calls again. But this time her rice didn't have any craisins on it. So once again I tell her to send him back. I dumped so many craisins on that rice, I think she got the point, and we never saw them again. I know it's not super gross, but it's pretty rare to see someone maliciously with someone's food. I have seen cooks use the 5-second rule when dropping food or not washing hands, but that's about it in my 7 years in the industry. Some Indian guys came in one time and asked for us to make their food as spicy as possible. I told them that's going to be extremely spicy and wanted to make sure they knew what they were asking for. They went on a long rant about how Indian restaurants are the only places that actually know what spicy is, and anything we bring out isn't going to be close to how spicy they like their food. So I had the owner come over to tell them that we'll try our best, but there won't be any refund on this food if it's too spicy. So we made them chicken fried rice with Trinidad scorpion peppers. After 2 bites and about 10 glasses of soy milk later, they ordered something else. I worked in a very well-known fast food chain for a while. My favorite example of this actually involved nothing. The person who bought food had been rude to staff on multiple occasions. The person serving went to get their food, popped round the corner in a noticeable way, and returned having done nothing. He gave the food to him with a huge grin on his face and said enjoy. He then watched the person throw it in the bin when he went outside. The worst thing I ever did to a rude customer was give them exactly what they want. Oh. You were a huge bitch to my staff and ask for extra pickles? You get 25 pickles. I have cooked for 20 years and have never heard of or seen someone spit in food or do anything gross like that. That is simply not cool. And not what we are about. Teenagers in fast food may be the exception to this rule. But I hope not. I worked for Applebee's for 7 years. And not until my last year did I witness this act. One of the cooks would drop down to 1 pair of tongs for the grill station for closing. He used the same tongs for raw chicken, beef, seafood, and cooked food. He would swish the tongs in his sanitizing solution. That looked like soup since he never changed it, claiming that it was good after that. I called him out on it and he told me that he never told me how to cook, so I should let him be. I told management too, and it was swept under the rug like everything else. I quit shortly after. But that was the only time I witnessed something disgusting like that. Worked in a fast food pizza joint. Nothing without consent of the customer happened. But customers ask some weird stuff. One time a customer asked for extra chili and emphasized a lot. So of course we put like a lot on it. Another person wanted chicken legs and wanted it extra crisp. He kept sending it back until it was pretty much burned. Which is when he found it perfect. The worst one was a woman asked to put her pasta in a blender because she had just gotten prosthetics and couldn't properly eat. It looked disgusting. How do I turn off the notifications for this thread? This isn't really bad. But a lot of the times when people send food back and there's clearly nothing wrong with it, the chefs will just rearrange the food on the plate, wait a minute or two and then send it out to the table. The funniest part is when the customer says that it's better. I haven't worked in a restaurant in over 15 years. I never messed with anyone's food because that is assault. What I used to do to snotty Karen types is give them a senior discount and announce to the table when I drop the check that I remembered to add the senior discount. That's funny because if they complain, that's going to cost them money. Worked in a deli for a few years. I never tampered with anyone's food, but if you were a dick I guaranteed your bread was over toasted. The lettuce on your sandwich was wilted. The tomato was the butt end with the hole from us removing the core. Your onions were little pieces. The meat was the smallest of the portions. And on and on. I wouldn't tamper with someone's food, but I damn well wasn't making them a good sandwich. And all of that goes the exact opposite way with the customers I liked. Always gave them the best product to the point they would wait for me to help them. Not a restaurant, but sometimes if a customer at my grocery store is being an asshole, I'll put their bananas or bread on the bottom of the cart so they get squished. I used to work at a local pizza restaurant in a town known for its pizza. The cook always carried around a dirty, stained brown rag he would use to wipe his hands and sweat off his face blow his nose into. On multiple occasions I've seen him let the rag touch the pizza while he was preparing it. Wanted extra mayo, so I maliciously complied by drenching it. Lady thought I would forget her fake $10 prayer tip the last time she was there. I worked at a McDonald's in high school and college, and this kind of malicious compliance was the worst we ever did. Worst was a guy wants extra pickles on his quarter pounder. We cover the burger in pickles. Comes back and says that's not extra. Okay. We slapped a big handful of pickles on a new burger. Like, almost couldn't wrap the thing. It was like 80% pickles. He started to get huffy, but the manager goes, well, we didn't want to shortchange you this time and we figured it was better to give too many and you could pick them off than too few. And then he stormed out. Edit. Apparently pickles are a very love them or hate them food, as a lot of the replies are along the lines of I want that. Not food related. I worked at a restaurant that had a free photographer. They would print little postcards for free. But if you wanted the pictures printed, they would charge a surplus for the printing. They used Photoshop to make the prints, so the artists would touch up the pics that they took before printing. Well, I had a party of 20 come in. A wedding party. They were super rude and only tipped $7 on their $500 check. I gave all $7 to the photographer. Worked in restaurants for over 10 years. It's pretty rare that you see people mess with some only food, but it does happen occasionally. The most memorable was once when a customer made a waitress cry complaining about their food and sent it back. The chef farted on the remake. It got a lot of laughs. More common is if a customer is an asshole. When they order dessert, you find the smallest slice of cheesecake you can. I used to manage a BBQ restaurant and I worked opening shift on Sundays. For whatever reason, the church crowd people were the worst. They would come into the restaurant and rearrange my lobby almost every Sunday. So when they ordered their food, I charged them for every single item instead of meals. If they ordered a sandwich and wanted an extra pickle, I charged them the 15 acute for an extra pickle, and the same went for every little petty thing I could find. When I bartended, the worst thing I ever did to an order was pour a legal pour instead of being generous. The worst way I treated a customer was that once I refused to pick up the 2 dimes and a nickel he tried to tip me for his $14 drink. And when he said, "Hey, my man, this is for you," I replied with a terse, "Keep it. You clearly need that money more than I do. People don't with your food or drink. That's our job. We take pride in that. If you are off, we'll just refuse to serve you." Worked at a movie theater for a while. Our pizzas came frozen in a large bag of many pizzas, so the contents sometimes got shifted around during shipping. One dude was acting like it was the end of the world because he got there late, hungry, and had to wait in line. He ordered a pepperoni pizza. So my co-worker went to the freezer, pulled out a pizza with 1 slice of pepperoni on it, and tossed that sucker into the oven. The guy eventually got a refund, but that must have felt good to see the reaction from him. I worked in restaurants for 10+ years and never saw anybody intentionally eyeing with a customer's food. Honestly, it's just not that common, in my experience. When I delivered food, we had a customer that never tipped. Frequently yelled until we gave her whatever coupon she said she had. She just made coupons up. She lived about 20 minutes outside of town and would frequently call back and say we forgot her extra sauces that she never ordered. So a driver would have to go back out there and miss out on deliveries. I got fed up and asked to take her food. Didn't mess with it, but I did put her order behind 3 other deliveries and threw her 2-liter in the bed of my truck. That thing was so shaken up it apparently when she opened it, it covered her and her kitchen. My boss refused to deliver to her anymore, citing she lived outside the delivery area. This guy wanted his cheeseburger with extra grease. Best way to do that: cook it, and as soon as it's done, slap it right on the bun. No draining off the excess grease. So I do just that. Guy sends it back not greasy enough. Little more grease. So this time I do the same thing. Except scoop my spatula in the extra juice around the burger as it just gets done. Slap on the top bun, and this thing is getting quite soggy. Again this guy sends it back. And now I'm getting irritated because I'm starting to fall behind. I slap the burger on the grill. And as the patty is done, I sop the bun in the grease until it begins to fall apart and spoon on as much accumulated grease as possible. This monstrosity. The burger was a sloppy, soggy mess of artery clogging grease. And to top it off, I take the last remaining grease and put it in a cup and send it out. Guy loved it. Asked to see me personally and thanked me and thought the extra cup of grease was absolutely ingenious. Customer is always right, I guess. Back in college I worked in a fast food kitchen. We would make rude customers' orders with hate instead of indifference. Seriously, messing with people's food is up. Don't do it. Never seen anybody intentionally mess with a guest's food. I worked at a Taco Bell that used to be a combo Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, so it had this hood for the oven that was no longer there. One super tall guy used to rest his gloved hands up there between orders then make food. Once, to prove a point, I wiped it down to show him how dirty it was. He said, "Great. Now it's clean also." Night shift would put dirty cardboard boxes on the fryer area to put the fried food to cool so they could wash the tray. There was once a footprint on the box. I have more stories. Don't eat fast food at night. I've worked in restaurants for the better part of the last decade and have never seen anyone actually with food. I have done some passive aggressive things for annoying guests though. A lady once asked for water with a bunch of lemons on the side, so I brought her 5 lemon wedges, but she demanded I brought her more. So I brought her a dinner plate full of lemon slices and charged her for lemonade. Not a restaurant, but the prepared food section of a highly regarded grocery store. Someone forgot to toss the old potato salad that was on its 4th day. It needs to be thrown out at the end of the 3rd day. We were supposed to keep track of this stuff religiously. The manager told my co-worker to just mix it in with the brand new stuff. So people were eventually being given 6-day-old potato salad. I guess worse things could have happened. But I'm squeamish about food, so it really bothered me. I was a server in a bowling alley with really high ceilings. I was cleaning baskets and plates from another table and throwing trash in the garbage rather quickly. I threw a half-empty cup of ranch dressing into the bin. It bounced, sending at least 2 ounces of ranch dressing in the air and all over the back and hair of a very large guest who was being a jerk to myself and other staff. I quickly looked around to see if anyone else saw. No one did. When his wife returned from the bathroom, she noticed the dressing all over him and said, "I think a bird pooped on you." I went along with the story and explained we have a bird in the alley somewhere. They thought it was hilarious and ended up tipping me 100% of the bill for helping them clean up. When I was a pizza delivery driver, when habitual non-tippers ordered, I wouldn't cut their pizza all the way through. Not a customer but a co-worker had her chicken tenders dropped in a cleaning bucket and then kicked down the cook's line. Kitchens near colleges really were a place of horror. I had a customer rudely berate me in front of the whole restaurant because I didn't prioritize her over other tables. I had a full section and was giving everyone equal attention. And doing quite well. Everyone got their food and drinks on time and with a smile. This lady was just on a serious power trip. She said, "If you can't handle a job as easy as this one, you must be a real loser." I offered free chips and salsa as compensation for her perceived delays, which she accepted with a "hopefully you'll bring it before tomorrow." I brought it out immediately and then proceeded to trip and fall. dousing her and her white sweater in salsa. Oops. It was delightful. I worked at Sonic. A lady complained and there was a wire bread tie in her burger. That still bugs me. I worked at Papa John's as a teenager. There was this one particular old dude that was loud and rude to whoever helped him every single time. He showed his ass immediately to this new guy and told him there better not be a onion pepper in my box or me and you will have a problem, and the new dude was visibly upset. You know those little peppers that come with pizzas. So I grabbed the biggest juiciest one and was going to put it in the box beside the old guy's. But I may or may not have accidentally squeezed it a bit. Some of the juice may or may not have leaked all over the guy's food while I was carrying it over to the next box. And I may or may not have noticed. Oops. A woman actually went on an adult tantrum because one of the employees working there had Down syndrome. It gets very hot in the kitchen. And someone took the hamburger bun and wiped the sweat from their face, ass, and nuts before making the burger. Semicolon. Semicolon. Some people have it coming, but to me it just isn't worth having my life ruined over someone like that. Worked at a restaurant overseas and we never cleaned the dishes because of water pricing. All we did was wipe it down with a towel. It felt sticky and disgusting. The manager dog would also drink from the same bowl we made salad from. The manager was a dog. I don't work at a restaurant, but my sister went to Wetzel's Pretzels the other day and she ordered the pretzel bits and they gave her burnt ones. These weren't even slightly burnt, they were full on burnt to the core burnt. I know because she sent me a picture of them. I told her to return them but she's too shy, so she just took a bite of one and threw the whole thing away. I don't understand how someone can burn something that bad and pass it on as someone's order. They must have not really given her. I so want to read this, but I also don't want to read this. I read a bunch and it seems like the consensus is that food is very rarely messed with on purpose. A cook was cooking mushroom tagliatelle. The pan fell to the floor with all the tagliatelle. He simply took the pasta back in his pan and continued to cook as if nothing happened. After working in restaurants and seeing a lot of bad things, I don't eat in restaurants anymore. Edit. In the 90s I worked in a Chinese restaurant. The chef would drop all the time and just put it back in the pan. I was trained to take the crispy noodles when clearing tables and pour them back into the main bin to go out to other tables. Same with hot tea. The chef owner would have a wok in each hand and a lit cigarette in his mouth. The ashes went into the food all the time. He'd never take the smoke out. Just spit the butt on the floor and stomp it out when finished. It was so bad. I told my dad never to eat there and he didn't believe me. Haha. Was over 10 years ago. I worked at a golf course restaurant. One of my female co-workers had some crude said to her by one of the old golfers. Something along the lines of, with an ass like that you shouldn't be in the kitchen. You should be on the course serving us beers. Then he ordered a ham sandwich on the turn to the back nine. She licked the out of that ham before putting it on the sandwich. Then wrapped it in saran wrap. Punched it. And went out and handed it to him herself. The worst part is that guy probably would have enjoyed it had he known. Saw a co-worker throw a hot dog onto a greasy floor. Step on it. Throw it back on the grill and then serve it. The customer was treating one of our waitresses like total garbage, continually hitting on and demeaning her. Close bracket. He did clean the grill and utensils after. I was 14/15 and didn't really see a problem at the time.